it's IdrisandMe, and today we're going to be talking about my riding journey. There will be a different clip for this because I'll film it back at home, but I thought I'd do the intro here with Idris while I'm with him, because who doesn't want to see his beautiful face? Because I do. I come down to see him. We're just sat in the grass at the minute after we've had some treaties. Idris, come say hello to everyone. Come say hello. Hello. But yeah, so that's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be talking about when it all started back in 2008 and to present day, where we have the young Idris with me today. So I guess roll our intro. I was requested to do my riding journey video by people on Instagram, and I guess it's a very long one. I've been riding since 2008, so that's, it's about 12 years. That's a long time. So yeah, about 12 years now. And yeah, like I say, started in 2008. I started down at my local riding school. The first pony I rode was a pony called Pebbles, who sadly passed away recently. And I learnt a lot. I started off in obviously the beginners group, learning how to ride and all this. Apparently I was a troublemaker, used to love cantering quite fast. But yeah, that was the start of it. Within 6 months I moved up to a outdoor group, which I was, at the time, was my greatest achievement, still is my greatest achievement. And did day courses and summer camps. I did do a summer camp once. I've got my notes down here, that's what I'm looking down. But I did a summer camp 1 year, and I was on a horse, but she went lame, so I had to go on another horse. And these horses, the only ones I had left were like the little ponies always the little grey ponies, and they always used to be the ponies I fell off the most. So I chose the one I didn't think I'd fall off the most, and I fell off 7 or 8 times that week, just because with their jumps were so powerful, I would just come straight off the side. I then started volunteering for an hour a day down there. Really enjoyed doing that, helping with like different chores, like getting the people on and poo picking and all of the different sort of stuff that you do like as a volunteer in the riding school. So I rode there for a very long time, and then in 2012 I met Jack. A lot of you know about Jack. You've probably seen a lot of edits here about Jack. But he was my first pony, and they put me on him because I was an experienced light rider. He was only 13.2 and he had a bad back. So I was like, okay, I'll get on him, I'll ride him, I'll see what I can do. I hated it and swore I would never ride him again. But I kept getting put on him by my instructors and by the people on the yard because he needed riding, and eventually I fell in love. I loved riding him, always wanted him on lessons. I didn't want anybody to ride anything else at that point, and I really fell in love with him. And then I remember going to Argentina to go and see my family, and I remember being in my room crying because I knew he was for sale, and I was like, I'm gonna get back and he's gonna be sold and I'm never gonna see him again, and I really love him and I miss him, like all of this. And at this point my parents were like, well, she's been riding here for like, I think it must have been, was 2008, 2009, 2010, 2011, 2012, I'd been riding for 4 years in the riding school, and my parents went, you know what, I think it's time to get her a horse. So my sister was riding at this point as well, so we were like, well, why don't we get them a horse? So in 2013, on January the 31st, 2013, we bought Jack, and he was supposed to be a surprise, but I remember walking down the road with my dad, and my dad accidentally let slip that they were going to go and buy him that night, and I was like, and he was like, oh god, no, don't tell your mum I told you that. And it was hilarious. I loved it. But yeah, I fell in love with him, and honestly it was amazing for a while. Then I began hating him again, because he would deck me, he would bolt, he would buck, he would bronc, he would put me on the floor, he would stop, he would do all these things, and the amounts of times I fell off him. I got told by people to sell him and get a different horse that was going to teach me more. I was told I would never do a lot of stuff with him. I told I never would be able to hack him. Was told I would never be able to do a lot of stuff with him because he was just troublesome. But then in 2014, in February, we bought Millie, who is now my sister's horse and has always really been my sister's horse. And we bought her to sort of teach us a bit more and to be a break from Jack. So I still rode Jack, still had Jack, still, like, I started getting to know him a bit more at that point. And then I sort of went, you know, when we bought Millie, I was like, well, I'll ride Millie in one of my lessons, because we got one free lesson a week per horse. So my sister would ride in one and I would ride in the other. I would intertwine between Jack and Millie. Millie is a, I'll put a picture up here. She's a Welshie, section D, I want to say. And yeah, she's a really sweet mare, still part of the family. We love her to bits. I never really got on with her, I don't think. I'm not really a mare person. She's got an amazing jump on her. She's an amazing pony. I've just never really gotten along with mares, which is such a shame because she's such a nice horse. But yeah, I started working at the riding school a lot more as well. So in that time I would be there from 6:30 in the morning to sometimes 4 at night, just working, like doing the normal stuff, helping with lessons, helping with clients and just stuff like that, it was a really good experience for me, and I'm really glad that I did. Then in 2015 we took Millie out the riding school to do our first show. But she was still in the riding school, she was still working in the riding school, she was a really popular mare, but we wanted to go to a show, so we thought it was only fair if we took her because she was more sensible than Jack. Like, Jack probably would have broke me off, so we were like, you know what, let's take Millie. So we took Millie to our first show, where I got eliminated and got 8 faults in my rounds, because I wasn't as like in tune with Millie as my sister was. My sister got a 3rd in the 2-3 class, which I was like, at that time I was like, oh, like, I really wanted it, like, but it was how it was. So we planned to show her a bit more, but then we had a few problems. It got a bit complicated with having to book Millie out of the riding school as she was such a popular horse, and so we made the decision to hand in our notice to the riding school and just say, okay, we want our horses to ourselves, we want them so we can go and start doing them more, we want to start show jumping, we want to start going to these local shows. We handed in our notice, said we're going to be taking them out of the riding school eventually. Things happened and we left, and we moved to a barn just down the road from me, where we started show jumping at our local shows, doing a bit of gymkhana. The first show that I took Jack to, I was a nervous wreck because I was 100% certain he was going to deck me. He didn't, and we came 4th in our, like, I think it was our last class. Didn't really expect it either, but we came 4th and I was really proud of him. And let me try and find the rosette. I'll show you the rosette now. So one on Jack in his time. Not these parts, those were Etty. This was my first show with him when I came 4th, and this is what I got over the season that I did with him. These were from pony club events that we went to, all the local shows that we did, some eventathons we entered, an eventathon we entered, my first mini ODE with him ever, really. That was from Trek, when we tried Trek out. That is from Pony Club Show Jumping. That's also from Pony Club Show Jumping. So is that. And that was obviously, yeah, my first show with him. I joined Pony Club, we did camps. Here's some of the certificates I got from that. Here's his name tags from that. And we went to a musical ride as well. Over the years I did a lot with Jack. I started hacking him when they told me in the riding school I'd never be able to do that. I started jumping more, I started doing more stuff that I enjoyed, started doing more bareback, sort of having fun. Went to the ford, splashed in the ford, which I'll put some pictures up here. And yeah, I had some incredible times with this pony over that time. In 2016 winter we did struggle with his weight. He started losing a lot of weight and just getting really ill, and I thought, honestly, I thought I was losing him, but turns out we took his shoes off for the winter and he's got flat soles, so he really struggled with walking and doing all of that, so he just lost weight, and it was a mistake that we made and we sorted out, and I don't think he's lost the weight. He's lost so much weight for a while, but he's doing really well now. And then in October of 2016 I began free riding, which was incredible. I had so much fun doing that. It was, I guess, the end goal for me with Jack, because then in 2016 December I met Etty after going for a lesson with the woman who I bought her off with Jack, and she told me, I want to see you ride different horses, because I want to see what you're like, what your potential is. And I said, okay, that's amazing, I really want to do that. And the cost of buying Etty came with the loss of having to sell Jack, and honestly I don't want to go too much into the whole Jack situation, but I guess it's part of my riding journey, so I kind of have to. But I regret doing that every day of my life. I regret selling Jack, because he was everything to me. He did a lot for me in those years that I had him. But then obviously February the 2nd, 2017, Jack was sold to a little girl, and she had him for almost a year. Yeah. And then in that time I was competing Etty, I was going to shows, I was doing all of this, we crashed, we burned. It was not a lot of good going into those shows, which was really sad. I got a lot of rosettes and a lot of success with her as well though, but it was never neat and it was never correct. It wasn't as good as I thought we could get. But then in 2017 I started BSJA training in the summer, and that's where I met my trainer, who said, okay, I want to help you. So I started having lessons with her. We took her out the Pelham, we put her in about a bit, we learnt on control, we learnt to do everything, we established the flat work that she'd never really gotten. And then we moved to her place. I did camp with her just before we moved her to my trainers, which was really, really good fun. I was very surprised that Etty was as well behaved as she was, but it was the time after, it was a little bit time after she had tied up, which is where the horses go into like muscle spasms and they just get very tight, very stiff, and she recovered from that. And then we thought, you know what, she needs to be turned out, she needs to have a routine, and that's when we took her to my trainers. This is the time we began to get so much better. I also, with a friend, went to go and see Jack after I had been told that he was up for sale again, which broke my heart because I thought he had a forever home, but apparently not. So I had been left in the dark for quite some time. The people that bought him off me sort of didn't contact me, didn't tell me how he was. I lost contact with them. I was left in the dark for a very long time. It affected me really badly, because having known that horse for 4 years and to just have him disappear completely and not know where he was really quite heartbreaking for me. But then with Etty I started competing again, and in January of 2018 I fell off and broke my collarbone in a lesson. She had spooked at something at the top of the school and bolted, and I had come off, landed on my shoulder, broke my collarbone. 6 weeks it took to recover, and I was on again, but it was never really the same. Every time I got on, my dad used to tell me I was as pale as a ghost. I always looked very scared when I got on her, as if it had really affected me, the fall, and had lost all my confidence at that point I had, which was really upsetting because I really loved that mare. She was a really good little jumper, and I think we could have gone far, but I just wasn't prepared for her at that moment in time. We competed again after my fall, only for, I think it must have been a few weeks later, to have another bad fall, which resulted in me smacking my head pretty hard on the floor, and the momentum of the fall, I fell back and sort of skidded along the floor. I ripped up all my back, and that's when my dad and my trainer sort of turned around to me and went, okay, enough is enough. There's no point in you getting hurt anymore. That's it. So we sold Etty in the summer of 2018. In September of 2018, I went to college, Hartbury, where I am now. And I really enjoyed it. It was really good fun, but it took a toll on me because I didn't have a horse at that time. I wasn't riding as often as I used to. I was sort of, I don't know, I just stayed in bed a lot. I sort of lost my purpose. I met Ollie, who, I'll put a little picture here for you. He was a little tiny 14-hand, I think he was a cob cross something. Amazing little pony. I absolutely loved him. Was on the really loved him. Really loved working with him. And he gave me that little bit more purpose rather than just sulking all the time. 2019, I went to White Stallion Ranch with my friend Kaya and my college. We had the most amazing time. I spent a week there. We did cattle herding. We did penning. We did fast rides, slow rides, mountain trail rides. It was honestly amazing. I'll put some pictures up here. And it was one of the most amazing times of my life. I 100% want to go back there and cannot wait to be able to. Honestly, it was an amazing experience. Some people say once in a lifetime. I don't want it to be once in a lifetime. You can see a picture here actually of me there. And it was honestly amazing. I loved that time. It was so incredible. It was a break I needed from all the hurt that was going on. And then I also got a text off Jack's new owners, because he had been passed on again, who said to me, "Hi, I know you love Jack dearly. I thought you'd want to know. He has got deep digital flexor tendon injury and we don't really know what's going to happen to him." At that point I remember bursting into tears, didn't really know what to do, got out of my room, went to my friends and just burst out crying and was like, I don't know what to do, he needs to come back to me. I can't lose him, especially after I'd felt so much hurt. I couldn't say goodbye to him again. It wouldn't, no, I couldn't have done it. And then in June of that year, I went and saw him. I went and talked to his owners who love him, well, his old owners who love him so much, so dearly. They were really upset about the whole situation. The little girl wanted to progress with her riding, but obviously couldn't because she had Jack. Who was just a pain, because he's always really been a pain, and now he is only able to do light hacking, which is good for him because he does love his hacking. He's still a bit of a troublemaker at the minute, but he did end up finding a home, which is incredible. I'm so glad he has. He's living out his days in this new home, and I hopefully after this whole lockdown is over, I'm going to go see him again, which is really nice. And then in late June, July, I went to go to my friend Chloe's yard just to see her horses. We had in the back of the mind about getting another horse, so I could ride again and have a purpose, I guess. And on the 3rd of July 2019, Idris came into my life. I bought him after a few weeks of riding him. He was everything I could think about in a horse. As soon as I got on him, which is very odd for me, I felt instantly safe, which I don't often feel in a horse. Even though he's only 4, he was everything I was looking for. He had such talent, he had such ability, he had such willingness to do things, and he didn't bolt or bronk or do anything. He was a completely new slate for me to start my work on and just go with myself. I then had the most amazing summer learning about the Connies, learning about Idris, ups and downs of owning a young horse, but it all made me taking him to Hartbury so much easier. Like, I met a lot of really nice people who came to view the Connies, came to buy them. I learned so much that I treasure all of it to this day, and go by a lot of it. So after that, I took Idris to Hartbury in September. I was in Seabarn, where I met loads of amazing people, rode Keep Training Idris, and just generally had a really good time. He'd go home on the holidays, he'd have a break, then he'd go back to Hartbury, and we'd do our more training. We started showing, we did our first show in dressage where we came second. It was like a little competition to see how much you could improve in a test. We then did another, let's say, a show jumping one where we came first, our first clear, because in the summer I'd taken him to 2 shows. I got 24 faults in the first round in my first show, 16 in the second round. The second show I did 4 faults in each class, which was amazing. It was a really big improvement. And then my third show that I did in show jumping was a 60 and we came first, which was the only clear in the competition, and it was so much like emotions on that day in general. Like, but we did that, and then we did a handy pony one time. That was really good fun. We did another handy pony from my competition, and Idris threw me off. It was the first time I fell off him. I could probably put the video here. It's quite funny. He then cantered down the arena as he canters off, and he goes towards a barrier that's about 120, and the people are like, oh, he won't jump it. He goes down to a stop, almost a stop, then launches it, clears it with about this much room. But I was a bit like, that doesn't really seem right to me, like, why did he do that? I just put down to excitement. And then we jumped him the next day. We were jumping really well, and I was really bad on my stride. He jumped the fence, almost fell, regained himself, and then bucked, which was never like him because he doesn't buck. So instantly I thought, something's wrong. So I rode him a bit more, but then he started to like scatter into the canter transition. So I was like, something's not right. Like, he's clearly in pain. And so I got the physio out for him, and she concluded that he had a bad back because the saddle didn't fit. So I got a saddle fitter out, and they told me that the saddle I bought him was not the right type, and it was 2 sizes too wide. And I was like, how do you fit a saddle and it then be 2 sizes too wide? Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. So we had problems with that. So I did a lot of groundwork with him for a while, until we could sort him out a saddle, which we did eventually, and the person that fitted it is amazing. She even sorted out my wonkiness, because I'm quite wonky in the way I ride, so because the saddle was slipping one way, I was like, this isn't really... So she put a little pad on the side, and that straightened me out and straightened the whole balance of the saddle out, which was mind-blowing, honestly. Like, I totally recommend her. If you want to know who she is, DM me on Instagram and I can let you know. And then we sorted all that out, and then the coronavirus hit this world, really. The whole pandemic started, and yeah, things got complicated. So we had to go home from college, which I'm still really, really fortunate to go and be able to see Idris every day. We're doing a lot of groundwork at the minute, teaching him a few moo tricks. Hopefully in the summer we can go out training again, but I'm not in any rush at the minute. I'm quite enjoying my flat work and my groundwork with him, so I'm not really too fussed about what we're doing. But and I guess the rest is history. But yeah, I am so very grateful that Idris came into my life, and I couldn't imagine my life without him. And hopefully, I'm going to go see Jack after this whole pandemic's over, so I'll probably update you guys on that as well. But that's been my riding journey. It's probably very brief. I haven't gone into a lot of detail about the riding school or anything like that, but that is pretty much it. I haven't gone a lot of details about Etty. And then I'm going to take Idris to uni next year for my 3-year course on equine business management back at Harbury. So thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you in my next video.